Welcome back. After you finalize your design that you chose and you get teacher approval, you will cut it out and keep in mind where your corner A was, because you'll want to make note of that on the corner. You can flip it around and write an A, write a B. That will be important to keep track of. What you'll do next is trace over your lines and your shapes with a black Sharpie, just regular tip, the fine point. And you should have some scratch paper underneath. I'm going to use this scratch paper because it will bleed. The goal is to trace around everything precisely and neatly. And this will help you see how your print will look with the black and white separated and the different shapes. If your shapes are too small, where you try to outline them and you can't get the detail, you're going to have to simplify your shapes, because when we carve it out of the linoleum, you can't have that fine of detail. I'll trace all of my shapes, and you should also color them in if they're supposed to be dark. So once I trace them, then I'll color them in carefully. This is what you'll use to do your final print, and so you have to make sure you are neat and clean with it. Now that you have all of your shapes traced over and colored in with Sharpie, you're ready for the next step. Flip over your paper, and you should still have a mark where corner A is. And your job is to trace over all of your shapes on this side and to color them with pencil. You don't have to be as neat. I should have scratch paper underneath. You don't have to be as neat with this, but just make sure you color over your shapes with pencil. You can outline them and then color. You can see where the permanent marker bled through, and your job is just to color over that so you have a reverse image. Take your time. This is important to get a nice layer of graphite on the back of your image. I have everything colored in with graphite on the back, and I have everything Sharpied on this side. And sometimes it's helpful just to cut it out now, as opposed to doing that the first step. Now what you'll do is you are going to test out what your image is going to look like. Take a scrap piece of paper or work in your sketchbook and line up your paper shape with the edge of the paper, and you can tape it in place with masking tape on two of the sides. I'm going to hinge it on the top so I can lift it up to see my design. And what you'll need to do is start from corner A. A is in the middle, and trace over your design. I'm pressing my pencil down, and since there's graphite on the back of it, it is going to transfer through. I'm just going to fill this in to show you. If I flip my paper, I can see my design being transferred onto that paper. Once you have your first design transferred, you can peel it off And you can see it just gives you an idea of what your design will look like. And then what I want you to practice doing is rotating your design and taping it down again on the paper right next to it so the bottom is aligned and it lines up right with the edge. And then trace again. This gives you an idea of what your design will look like once you repeat it over and over again. Once you finish the second transfer, you can peel it off again and you can rotate it, and you can see that I'm starting to form. You can see I actually forgot this shape. That should connect. You can see that it will form a flower shape in the middle, and this will give you an idea of how your design will look. If things don't match up on the sides, you might want to remeasure and redraw and adjust your design, and you can do that if you need to.